Have you ever heard of Investors Club? Investors Club is a website broker where you can buy and sell income generating and profitable websites. In this video, I'll share my real and unbiased opinion and review of this particular broker. Hey guys, I'm Torres. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about making money online, everything from freelancing to website investing. In this video, I will review Investors Club. It's one of the website brokers where you can buy and sell income generating websites, and it's really became one of the best places to do that. It has been founded in 2019 by alpha investors and by a guy called Andre Illison. Quite a, let's say, well-known guy, established guy in the space, so everybody trusted him pretty much when he founded this place. I've been part of Investors Club for around 18 months now. First, I had a free account, was just browsing around. And last Black Friday, I was lucky to snatch a lifetime membership for a decent price. Investors Club are focusing on content websites, in other words, blogs, who are posting content in various niches, such as solar panels, pets, audio equipment, and whatever the niche is. But primarily, they are focused by display ads and affiliate. That means in Investors Club, you won't find an e-commerce site, a software as a service site, and so on. They only accept sites that generate at least $500 per month in profit, which makes that you will probably won't find a site for sale under 10,000, but within the 10 and 20,000, there's actually quite a choice. So let's see what are the pros and cons of using Investors Club as a buyer. If you are interested in selling the website, please skip into the next section where I talk about Investors Club for sellers. Oh, and before I do that, please smash that like button and subscribe to this channel. It will really help me to play with the YouTube algorithm, get more views, get more subscribers, and this way boost this channel and to reach more people who need to know this information about making money online, and in this particular case, how to make money with website investing. So please like, share, and subscribe. Okay, so the pro number one of Investors Club is the semi-affordability of the sites that they're listing. Majority of us don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest in profitable and income generating websites. And to be honest, if that's your first website, I even wouldn't recommend, even if you have that amount of money, I would say don't invest more than 20,000, maybe even don't invest, more than 10,000. Depending how comfortable you are, because it's a high risk and high return business, right? Anything can change and your site could go down and basically you'll lose that money, or at least majority of it. So be careful with how much you invest. And in Investors Club right now, there are, for example, 2 websites just under the 10,000. There are, let's say, around 5-6 websites that are around 20 or a little bit lower than 20,000. And one thing about the prices here, and to be honest, on any broker, that they are negotiable. Here you'll have access directly to the owner of the site. That means you'll be able to submit them and offer perhaps, something a little bit more affordable for you. That's the pro number one. The pro number two is how beautiful the UI and UX is. I know that it might seem a little bit less important, but how the information is presented really makes it comprehend a lot easier than if it's clunky, if it's hidden, if it's not clear, if it's not as visual as on Investors Club. And understanding the information as good as possible, that's, I think, is one of the most important things. So even if we go to the listing sites, everything laid out is super clear. There's visualizations of the data, there's clear sections. I mean, the design is really easy to comprehend, easy to use. It's not overloaded, but at the same time, it is providing enough information if you want to get it. So beautiful UI and UX, definitely the best in the market in my opinion. And the third is the level of their due diligence, because due diligence is really one of the most important part when making a purchase decision of any website. And even if you are experienced, to get all this info, to get access to their analytics, to get proof of their income, that they are not lying or scamming or inflating numbers, to get all of this information is minimum 8 to 10 hours of your own time. So even for experienced investors, that's really useful, because we do get all information here in one place. And for unexperienced guys, that's even more useful, because you wouldn't even know what to ask perhaps. And also one of the advantages of the website brokers that they verify all information, right? Because obviously their reputation is on the line. If they miss something and sell you a site that actually was a scam, that will not help the broker's reputation. So they really are careful about listing only the sites that pass their threshold of quality. However, big disclaimer, never 100% put trust, especially when it comes to money, into other people's hands. So always verify. Also the depth of the due diligence, that's really important, because lots of brokers, they provide information about the site, but Investors Club really provide probably the most amount of information about any site, because these business analysts, traffic review, site information, information, buyer questions here, like you can download their report, the spam signals, earnings potential, which is quite unique. There's no other broker that does this, where it shows you how much more you could potentially earn if you optimize this website, workload, what's required to run this business, if we own the site. So that's also great, just a bunch of professionals already giving you a potential ideas. Obviously, a lot of this stuff will be repetitive from site to site. It's not like they go really specific to this site, but these tactics are legit, and these are the real things you could do to improve the site. Then traffic overview, traffic is connected to the Google Analytics. I invite you to go check the other brokers as well, and I'll definitely review them in this channel, but you'll see that the due diligence information and the depth of it is the best here. Okay, so now the cons of Investors Club. To be honest, there are not so many. The ones I'm going to mention, they are quite small, but nonetheless, this is how I would improve Investors Club if I was the owner. So one thing, that in the overview of the listings, it would be really great to see the multiples that this price is based on, because that's one of the crucial information. Because sometimes I could say, hey, this is definitely overpriced, because right now I basically need to do a math. I need to take this number and divide it by this, and I'll get that number. I think that's a waste of my time, and to get that multiple number displayed here would be great. The buyer's con number 2 is their spam signals information, because spam signals could be very scary, because they could have a huge impact on the potential of the site and the trajectory of the site. Because if it was under the spam attack, or they use some shady link building techniques, and current rankings don't hold up and basically tank and as your revenue and so on. So they do provide spam signals, which is great. It basically says, hey, do we believe the site has previously used or currently used PBN links? They say not that we determined, and in some things they say, hey, potentially yes. The problem I have is that some people don't understand how severe some of these signals are, right? For example, how bad are PBN links? Is this the same as link insertions, or is it the same as expired and repurposed domain? How bad is it? I would perhaps provide a buyer a link to information, or provide the information right there, some expandable text, just summary. Obviously you can't provide too much, but I think a little bit more clarity on how bad those signals are, if any of those they found potentially yes to be true. And the last thing that I think could put off some of the buyers are their membership model. They have 2 tiers of the membership. One is the free membership, and one is the VIP upgrade, which you can get a yearly or a lifetime. The free membership, you basically get a little bit of the limited services, that you get no fee escrow, you get in-app chat with the sellers, you get access to listings that are 5+ days old. That means that you will get a 5 days delay on any listing. That means the VIP members have a instant access to every listing, which is one of the advantages, and you only get the basic listing details free forever, like URL, revenue, asking price, and contact. You don't get this whole due diligence information that I showed you in a previous screen. Another thing, to create any membership, you need to show a proof that you have at least $10,000 in your account. This is perhaps more of a pro for the seller, but I would say con for the buyer, because it makes the whole process a little bit slower. What if you're just starting and you're not as liquid right now, you just want to explore, learn a little bit? That means that your access to the platform will be limited if you can't show that you have 10K. So I think that's a bit of, let's say, put off for some potential buyers. Okay, so let's move to the seller's pros and cons. And the first pro for the seller is their awesome free valuation tool of your site. So if you have a site to sell and you have no clue how much it is potentially worth, you can use their free valuation tool. We'll show you how much you can save on their brokerage fees. I'll cover that before. Obviously, that's to help them. You'll see the estimated multiple and whatever metric they have here. It will give you an idea how much you could sell it for. And obviously here it says that this is just a quick estimate, and for more accurate estimate you will need to submit your site where we look at multiple data points, and that's true. Here we'll only look at a couple of things and without you really giving you the proof. But later, to get an actual estimate before getting listed, you will have to provide a little bit more information and you'll get a final estimate. The pro number 2 for the sellers is realistic multiples. Multiples are a number where if you take your average monthly revenue for the last let's say 5, 6 or 12 months, and then you multiply by that particular number, and that's how you get the asking price for your website. So this is one of the most important features when you buy a website, and also when you sell. So a lot of the brokers, they like to increase that multiple because they cannot really play a lot with the monthly revenue numbers. They are what they are. However, the multiples, they can say, hey, we're gonna try to sell it for you for 40 multiple or 45 multiple or 50. They can say whatever they want, but that's just gonna be a listing price. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily gonna sell for that price. So Investors Club, I think they do a good job with providing realistic multiples. And for example, here we have 35, here we have another 35, here we have 30. So, it's more common to have something between like 28 and perhaps 38, whereas other brokers are more between 30 and 45 or something like that. So I think the multiples are more realistic, and that's the price of the listing gonna be more realistic to the price where it's actually gonna sell. So the pro number 3 of Investors Club is that they are very unique in how they calculate monthly net revenue. Other brokers, usually what happens is that, let's say if you earned $1,000 last month and you spent $500 on content and links, they would subtract that $500 and they would use only the remaining $500 in calculating your average monthly net profit. Investors Club, on the other hand, they don't take into account the cost you have for the content, for the links, because in their mind is that every owner will approach it differently, and it doesn't mean that if this current owner was spending $500 a month on a content that the new owner has to spend it. So the only things that they have to spend money on are the hosting, the domain, and these little things that the website could not run without. So they're not taking that into account, making the average monthly net revenue actually higher, meaning that even if the multiples are lower, the overall listing price could be something similar to what other brokers use at the end. And the next pro is that their fees, the success fees, if you manage to sell your website using Investors Club, probably one of the lowest in the market, is only 5% off the final price. And as they say, also most other brokers charge upwards of 15%. Some charge 20, some charge 10, sometimes 15, but 5% is really one of the lowest. And I know that Flippa also charges 5% on certain type of properties, but Investors Club really stands out by being probably the most seller friendly in terms of the success fee. Actually, this is a great page I'm showing you right now. It's called Sellers FAQ. It really lists a lot more information that I'm going to be able to cover in this video. What is the listing fee? What is the criteria? And please go ahead and check it out. And that's the pros of using Investors Club for sellers. Okay, so the cons of Investors Club for sellers are also not huge, but I think they're perhaps important to say. First one is that it might take a little bit longer to sell a site on Investors Club than, for example, on Empire Flippers, just because the Investors Club has a smaller user base, just less attention, less potential buyers for a seller to sell their site quickly. Whereas like if you list on Empire Flippers something for 30K, it's very likely that you'll sell it within the next couple of days. Investors Club, I don't have the average time, but I read somewhere that the average sales time is between 20 and 30 days on average for any site. Obviously, if your site is below 100K, it will sell quicker. If it's over 100K, it might sit on the market for 2-3 months. That's just the way it is, because there's a lot less buyers overall who can afford and know what to do if the site's valued over 100,000. The con number 2 is really a con for all the website brokers, is that they require exclusivity period. To be honest, Investors Club require probably the shortest exclusivity for only 45 days. That means that you have to list with them exclusively for 45 days until you go and use other broker. But the exclusivity works in a funny way that even if it expires, the other broker that you want to list with will require their own exclusivity. That means you'll have to take off the listing of Investors Club and so on. So exclusivity is just something that you have to accept, and that's a con, I think, of every single broker if you are the seller. And the last con that could improve, I think, is a listing period. I tried listing a site once. I ended up listing with a different brokerage, but they were a little bit slower than the other ones. I'd say, it took them more than a week to really review and get back to me with the valuation, then in reply to them with my questions. It took them a couple of more days. So I'm not sure, maybe that improved, but my personal experience that it took around 2 weeks until everything was final for get the listing up. And I think they could improve that and perhaps get more resources on their due diligence team. The last thing I want to mention is to share my personal experience with the Investors Club from the buyer side, because I did purchase one website around 18 months ago that I still have, and then it's still running pretty good, and that was before the multiples really increased. So me and my partner managed to snatch it for a multiple of 22, if I recall right. So that was a very sweet multiple. The buyer wanted more, but we used that direct communication tool and we managed to put the price down because the listing was already there for a couple of months. So we had a little bit of negotiation power. But I must say that the whole experience was really smooth. As soon as we wanted to make a purchase, Investors Club really facilitated it well. They sent, the legal docs, the help with the transfer process. Really a good experience and no hiccups, but that's just a sample size of one. I do plan to purchase more probably beginning next year once I sell one of my sites to release some of the capital. So perhaps I'll share more experience then. But so far, my personal experience was great. All right, guys, don't forget, before you go, smash that like button if it was useful. Obviously, I couldn't put all information in this video. There's a lot more I could cover, but these are the key topics that I think you should know about Investors Club. Thanks so much for watching this video, and see you in the next one.